The Monroe Doctrine was a principle of United States policy which originated from President James Monroe on December 2, 1823. It stated that any external powers in the politics of America is a potentially hostile action towards the United States. At the time, the doctrine noted that the U.S. would recognize and not interfere with existing European colonies, nor meddle in the internal concerns of European countries. Spain had colonized Central and South America in the 1600s and 1700s. By the early 1820s, however, most of the Spanish colonies in the Americas had declared independence. Revolutionary fighter Simon Bolivar, more formally called the Liberator, led many of these struggles for independence. The political circumstances surrounding the revolutions reminded most American leaders of the American Revolution. As a result, they supported these struggles. After Mexico broke free from Spain in 1821, President Monroe grew worried. He feared that rival European powers might try to take control of newly independent Latin American countries. He was also concerned about Russia's interest in the northwest coast of North America. Secretary of State Adams shared President Monroe's concerns. In a 4th of July speech before Congress, Adams said that the United States had always been friendly with European powers and that the country did not want to be involved in wars with them. He implied that he supported the newly independent countries but said the United States would not fight their battles. Great Britain was also interested in restraining the influence of other European nations in the Americas. This was because Britain had formed close trading ties with most of the independent Latin American countries. Britain wanted to issue a joint statement with the United States to warn the rest of Europe not to interfere in Latin America. Instead, President Monroe and Secretary of State John Quincy Adams responded by declaring a new foreign policy for the United States. Monroe told Congress and the world's empires that the American continents are henceforth not to be considered as subjects for further colonization by any European powers. This policy was invoked and adapted by subsequent presidents to advance American economic and political interests in the Western Hemisphere, and thus the Monroe Doctrine was born. The Monroe Doctrine had 4 basic points. Number 1, the United States would not interfere in the affairs of European nations. Number 2, the United States would recognize and not interfere with European colonies that already existed in North and South America. Number 3, the Western Hemisphere was to be off limits to future colonization by any foreign power. Number 4, the United States would consider any European power's attempt to colonize or interfere with nations in the Western Hemisphere to be a hostile act. The Monroe Doctrine was a bold statement to the great powers of Europe. It declared the Americas closed to any future European colonization. The United States would stay out of European affairs, but it would serve as leader and protector of the Americas. Some Europeans strongly criticized the Monroe Doctrine, but few European nations challenged it. Over the next century, the Monroe Doctrine would guide American foreign policy. It was used to justify the westward expansion of the United States as well as expansionists' foreign policies in Central and South America. The United States had taken its first steps toward becoming a world power. The foreign policy impact of the Monroe Doctrine lasted for centuries and has been cited and used by the following future presidents: Theodore Roosevelt, Calvin Coolidge, Herbert Hoover, John F. Kennedy.